This is the ECW original, Jason Knight. And yes, I am drinking at Moe's.
All right, everybody. Want to thank Reaper Apparel for having Drinkin at Moe's be a brand ambassador. They encourage everybody to break out of that comfort zone, live their best self, which, hey, that's what got me starting the podcast. But they got great clothing, great apparel, t-shirts, hoodies, beanies, hats, all that good stuff. Be sure, link will be in the description, and use the code Drinkin at Moe's to get 10% off your order. Let's fucking go.
All right, everybody, welcome to Drinkin at Moe's. Big Mo here. We have expanded our reach most places you can find your podcast. YouTube, like, subscribe, all that good shit, because it helps out with the pain in the butt algorithm. Today I have with me, pretty damn excited, because not every day you get to talk to somebody that was in the original ECW. Jason Knight, how you doing?
I'm doing fine, thank you. Thank you.
I've been excited about this one. And first thing I'd like to start off with each guest, especially the first time they're on, is what got you started as a fan, and then what made you decide to make the leap into the business when you made that decision?
Well, as a fan, my dad loved watching wrestling, and at that time we lived in London, England, and this is late 60s. So obviously I used to watch it with him, and I thought it was something that I'd like to be a part of when I grow up. So in the 70s, when my mother and I moved to the United States, that was, she was here in 75. I got 87. And I would watch Worldwide Wrestling Federation on Channel 9 WOR. And it was very convenient because it was a Saturday night at midnight, so I could stay up. Sunday not being the school day or work day.
Yeah.
Stay up and watch wrestling, and it was only a 30-minute show, which was pointed, because 30 minutes of pro wrestling at the time was just not enough.
Yeah.
Now, what do they do? 3-4 hours?
Yeah. No, Monday Night Raw is up to 3 hours, and like if you go to AEW shows with them taping Dark, Dynamite, Rampage, and they're even bringing the Ring of Honor tapings along to a lot of places. You're there for a good 4 hours.
Oh boy, yeah, that's if it works, it works. But in any case, time I remember watching it for 30 minutes, and the cool thing was, because I'm also a very big horror movie fan, and then they would, right after professional wrestling, they would have Fright Night theater, and obviously showing all the great B movies, from the past that I still happen to love. But that's pretty much how I became interested in professional wrestling. And I watched all the superstars of the Worldwide Wrestling Federation, and kind of like when men were men, because wrestlers back then were pretty much grown men, that convinced you that they would definitely kick ass. I found some places to go where I could train that were, professional, what we call semi-professional. They were not being sanctioned by the state athletic commission and all that, more like underground. And then later on in the 80s, I found Johnny Rods and I found Bobby Bold Eagle and went to train with them, and then went out into the world.
Yeah, and you've been traveling a bunch of places. What a lot of people might remember you from is your runs in ECW. And I mean, you did a lot before correct me if I'm wrong, before it went to the Extreme moniker, and
yep.
you had the ECW TV title reign that, looking up, it wasn't a short one. I mean, but you had a good reign there. And then something that I was curious about, because one of the things I remember, because when ECW blew up, when it was they got the show on TNN, and I started seeing a lot of you with the Impact Players and getting in there. And the one thing that always comes to mind every time I think of those moments was Joey Styles on commentary talking about like he was breaking out in hives every time he came out. It was like, what the heck is going on there?
Yeah, there was just great chemistry between him and I, because I guess my character was pretty obnoxious, and I figured if we're gonna play it, let's play it away.
Oh yeah.
Joey, of course, being as quick he is, and as intelligent and talented, obviously, he was able to feed off of that. And I thought we could have done a lot more with that whole rivalry, or however you want. I thought it could have been something, but it's ECW almost became like the tail end of WCW, that you did not really know what was going on, and certain things just you'd see them one night, and then
yeah,
interest, and then suddenly it was like nowhere to be found. But I guess the nature of the
that was definitely a chaotic time, because talked about you being with the Impact Players there. They were like, in that era of ECW, before Lance Storm left for WCW, they were known, like they were the thing. Like when it came to ECW and tag teams, you thought of them. What was it like being a part of that whole dynamic? Because for me and my money, I loved watching that, because me being the fan of tag team wrestling that I am, I love especially even the heel tag teams, that it's just like you're like they grab you in.
Well, it was obviously an honor. However, I don't feel that I belonged, because first of all, it was already two of extremely talented young men that were entertaining the crowd and doing what they're supposed to do, and plus you had Dawn Marie. Now why should so I really I did not I didn't feel that I fit into the whole mix, and I didn't really I didn't enjoy it all the time. At times I did, but should I say I didn't enjoy it most of the time, because I just didn't feel that I fit there, and I felt that I was just being, that extra wheel that nobody needs. And, I kind of realized it. And, I could hear, among the crowd, and, oh, you're just a waste of space. And I know that, I mean, look, you've got Dawn Marie, you've got Credible, you've got Lance Storm. That's all you needed. You did not need Jason there. And, I thought that something else could have been done with me. And I know that Paul Heyman told me and mentioned to me several times that, it was in the making, but it never really happened until, the time that I left. But, during that tail end, which I will call, being with Lance Incredible and Dawn Marie, love them all, nothing against them, obviously,
Yeah.
But I just feel that, I did not, they did not need me at all. I mean, they didn't benefit anything by having me there, because they were great on their own, the three of them.
No, definitely all three talented individuals. Lance Storm, very highly regarded. I believe he's still coaching. I'm wanting to say Impact, but I might be wrong. I know he's still active, helping out in that aspect.
If not, he should be, because the last time I saw him at one of the Legends in Philly, he looked great, and he still the same Lance Storm, awesome, classy individual, and to me, he looks the same. He's one of those guys that managed to preserve his himself.
No, yeah. No,
very, very driven individual. He knows what he wants, and he's very disciplined. And,
definitely
not afraid to work hard, in order to achieve what he.
Oh yeah. No, and definitely, like, I remember one of the last times I saw him, despite maybe a change of hairstyle, it doesn't look like he's really aged all that much either.
No.
It was like, holy moly, wish I had that.
Yeah. You see Lance now, after what, 20 years or so, that's Lance Storm right there. Very.
Yes. Yeah. And before the run with them, you did, like I mentioned, have the run with the ECW TV title, which in a lot of aspects, especially there towards the end, it was almost like the TV title was almost starting to mean more than even the world title at some points, especially, RVD and the run that he had with it.
Yeah.
What was it like being, a part of that lineage and, getting to have that run with the title that you had?
Oh, it was awesome. I mean, I was very honored. The only thing is that I was not given the permission to wrestle. I had to almost like trip over my own feet in order to make my opponents look even better. And then, of course, to have Dean Malenko come in and cover for me, all until it was a time to drop the title and for TV in Hamburg, Pennsylvania. I recall I dropped the belt to Too Cold Scorpio.
Oh yeah.
And then Too Cold passed it on to Dean.
Oh yeah.
And it went on. But the only thing that I can say is that I think I'm the only guy that held the belt through the whole transition from Eastern Championship Wrestling to Extreme, because I was both. I remember, remember the night the line was crossed with Shane, the belt and all that.
Yeah.
I was still a TV champion, and I was there for that. And then, once once it became extreme, that's when I dropped it to Too Cold. And then it went on and on. Yeah, I mean, the TV title was held by some of the greatest that were before me and after me. So yeah, I do believe that it meant a lot. I mean, they really, how you had the NWA television champion, but it was never like, okay, well, you want the world heavyweight champion. You're still the world champion. So, that's where it was almost like it was given to the wrestlers that they weren't going to push as far as becoming world champions, like let's say Arn Anderson.
Yeah,
but yet he was he was a whole hell of a lot better than most of the champions that held heavyweight title. I mean, so it's that type of a thing. I mean, I think that Paul Heyman, really wanted to make it as recognizable, as he did with everything that, that he tried to push, and whatever he tried to come across, I think he treated everything pretty seriously for the most part.
Oh, yeah. No, I definitely agree. And the only thing that, at least judging from the documentaries and stuff that I've seen on the original ECW, was it seemed like more so towards the end that he had a little bit of a problem delegating some stuff, because he took so much on himself that, delegating might have relieved some of the stress, but I mean, there might have still been some of the issues there, but at least, some of that weight would have been taken off of him.
I personally always have felt and continue to feel that it was all planned. There was a plan to whatever the plan that was executed at the right time was most definitely what was going to become the outcome. In other words, there were a few people there, they knew that it wasn't going to last. They were going to move on, and they were going to be, where they are now. And, everybody thinks of, the number one. So they don't really, they can't give it too much thought as far as how he's going to hurt or damage others, their careers, their livelihood and all that, because, after all, business is business, and sometimes.
True.
So I'm only responding to what you had just mentioned as far as, delegating. I think it was, just something that was well planned. A few knew it, kept it obviously secret. You're not going to blab it out.
Yeah.
And, keep the talent for as long as you can, till that very last show, give them a good, tearful goodbye and a thank you, and kick him ass right out the door and go on and be successful yourself. I mean, that's, and then again, if people get mad at the truth, fuck 'em.
No, and you bring up a good point, because now looking back on it, I can see where you're coming from.
I'm not even personally, I'm not even saying it in a way that I feel like they did anything wrong, because whatever they did right was for themselves and for their families. So really, they really care about, some Jason or Just or Mikey or us guys that were there from the very beginning, because at the end, you're always going to worry about, that number one, about yourself. And then, here and there, you throw them a bone, with a little pay-per-view and a little remembrance, this and that. So that's just the way it is. I'm sure that it's like that in any business, especially. So, it's not an insult. It's not, it's the truth, whether someone likes it or not. I really don't give a damn because I know what the truth is. Number one, I'm not stupid. Number two, I was there before some of the now superstars were ever there. I saw the route it took. And then, where that fork in the road was, I knew that it should have gone that way and would have been successful, but purposely was like, let's go that way. Immediately, I knew, that we were doomed. And, look at TNA, it has lasted a hell of a lot longer than ECW.
Yeah.
But still talked about. Therefore, if it had gone on, people would have embraced it. And I don't think it, I think it simply was a matter of what was the best decision and the best for the ones that had it in their hand. They could make it or break it. They broke it. And, they still go on. And, God bless them. I wish him nothing but but then again, don't get pissed off at the truth.
No, that is true. And, now that you, like I said, now that you mention it, looking back, I can kind of see where you're coming from. But one little bit that some people that might watch this episode won't remember or realize is you had some time with both WCW and WWF at the time. I feel weird even saying it that way, but I mean, they changed the initials of it. But you've been in there with some pretty big names like Vader.
Yeah.
Mean Mark, or most people know him as The Undertaker. Rick Martel, Lex Luger. Like, these are huge names in the business. What was it like, being in there, especially, with people like Vader, like Mean Mark, early days of his career and, before The Undertaker?
Yeah, I mean, all the above, it was an honor, and they were all great. I mean, yeah, there's a reason that why they succeeded, and that they are legends today is because they were simply great. They had the look, they had the size, they had everything that it took to become a superstar in the pro wrestling industry. For me, wrestling Vader was an honor, and I was very excited because he was just they just brought him from Japan, and they had all the vignettes, with him, with that huge helmet.
Yeah, that huge, yeah,
and he, I think they built him at 299. I'm not sure how much he weighed back then, but he was extremely big and very fit for a man. Obviously not on a tuna fish diet. Yeah. He could move around. Everything was so solid. It was an honor for me, to wrestle Vader. And I think I was his very first TV televised match. Yeah, I believe that he did do a bunch of house shows. I think they were kind of like bringing that character through, to kind of take it around the country,
Gotcha.
So, and then I believe that I was his first TV match. And it was awesome, and he was Vader, except at that time he was he was a little bit quicker, a little bit more deliberate, although Vader was great, till the end. However, that his time, and that's
Oh yeah.
one of, because I remember standing in that ring and saying I'm going to look as scared as I can be, because you have this monster coming in, and then of course the fans that were smart enough to who Vader was, they knew what a hard hitter he could be and all that. To me, it was an honor. Wrestle guys like that, and Sid Vicious, and of course the Undertaker before he was the Undertaker. He was Mean Mark, and he was managed by Paul Heyman, and each and every one of those individuals was an excellent performer. And to me, they were all super professional. They were safe to work with. Obviously, you had to be trained enough to be able to take care of yourself in the ring against, someone that that when you wrestle these guys, their style, what's going to happen, that they're hard hitters, and if you're really not ready for it, then you're not gonna go to a major company TV taping and dictate what your matches will be for the night and who you want to work with. So if you're not ready for it, just simply don't do it. I know there were like some horror stories about Vader and Sid and the Steiners and all the. I wrestle all those guys. They're all fantastic. I mean, just absolute professionals, and that is what their style is. And if you're not ready for it, then simply don't do it.
Yeah, no. And one story that was coming to mind when I was thinking and doing my notes with Mean Mark or Undertaker was, I remember hearing about one of his first matches. I believe it might have been his first match against Bruiser Brody, one of my all-time personal favorites. And remember him telling the story about he just got the absolute piss knocked out of him in that match.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. At that time, you had these men that took the business very seriously. You got to realize that at the time, a lot of these guys, they didn't have a second job or a business. That's what they did for a living, and that's how they were able to make a living.
Yeah,
many of them very well. Financially, they did very well, and they had to. And plus, obviously, loving what they do.
Oh yeah,
it was a whole different scenario back then. I mean, the guys were protecting not only the business but their own interest.
Oh yeah,
and supporting their families, and they were hard workers. Not say that they're not now, because there's a lot of well, right now, I guess you have between the two, you have the performers that are into more of like a spot fest, which again, it's pure athleticism, and then you have the ones that will do absolutely anything as far as that whole hardcore dangerous style.
Yeah.
So it's different, but still the same. But being different than I don't think that storytelling is there anymore. It is just moves for the sake of moves and violence for the sake of violence, and it's really timed, for the right place and the right time and all that. So,
no, I can see that, and you in a lot of ways, yeah, you're right. There is that lack of the genuine storytelling that there was back especially in those days. So I can definitely see where you're coming from.
Yeah. And I don't mean gimmick or character or some ridiculous storylines, which have nothing to do with a professional wrestling competition, winning titles, making money, that type of thing. It's more like I've seen a lot of silly shit out there, and and there's another thing. A lot of the younger generation of professional wrestlers, they, not all, because some are absolutely some are absolute monsters, but for the most part, they're not menacing looking. They're just very young people that are athletic, and they go out there. They can do 1,000 spots within 20 minutes. So, the athleticism is there, but, it's extremely premeditated.
Yeah.
As well, we all know, however, it doesn't have to look premeditated.
Yeah.
Rehearsed. And it looks very rehearsed because it is. Because, I just started coming back after about 10 or 12 years of being away from the business. And I still notice what I've noticed when I left about 10, 12 years ago, that they can't wait to get into the ring before the show and practice out every single move. And it better hit that way throughout the match, or otherwise someone's going to get very pissed because I messed up my spot, man. The fans wouldn't know, but now they know because and they're chanting, "You fucked up," because you just showed them that you fucked. There's no covering it anymore, and that's very important.
No, and you mentioned a bit of a return. What is some of the latest stuff you got going on? Coming back after as many years as it's been.
Last December, I did the Legends, and then I've been booked for some other signings, and there's some stuff coming in the future. But I'm planning to relaunch my own company that I've had back in the day in Connecticut, Assault Championship Wrestling. That started doing pretty well, but it didn't last long because of different issues that I was facing personally and business wise, as far as people being very difficult to work with, and you find a lot of knives in your back, that don't belong to you. It's like, whose knife is this?
Understandable.
I'm planning on relaunching it. So,
I was hearing about that. I hope that goes well.
I think this time it will, because it's. I'd like to have a lot of people on board that have been my originals, and then there's a lot of other talent out there that is willing to lend a helping hand, and I'm very grateful for that. So I'm getting a really good buzz.
That's awesome. That's awesome. But go ahead.
Right at the end of the summer. So the way that I'm kind of planning it out should be right at the end of the summer.
Okay. I'll look forward to keeping an eye on that, and getting my eyes on that return. I do, to kind of round off the show, I kind of have two categories. One's a bit of a name game, where I try as much as possible to theme it to my guests, where like you've either shared a locker room with them, or if at all possible, shared the ring with them, and you give me your first thoughts on them.
Yeah.
First one, we talked about him when it comes to the Impact players, Lance Storm.
Like I said, driven, disciplined, a perfect gentleman, and a super professional.
No, he definitely gives that off, and definitely all things that I could definitely say about him. Next up, guy currently with AEW announcing, but back in the days of ECW, he was known as the Human Suplex Machine, Taz.
Taz is, I'm sure, another one. Driven, disciplined, knew what he wanted, and went after it. And I mean, Taz always had that tunnel vision. And again, his main concern was the number one. That was him. So when I say, but then again, when I say driven, I mean, he knew what he wanted and he went after it. So all that, hard worker, and extremely disciplined, very, very disciplined and tunnel vision.
Oh, definitely. Next up, the Nature Boy, Ric Flair.
Yeah, well, the legendary Ric Flair. It was an honor to work with him.
Definitely somebody that I will say people here in Omaha, there were some people upset with him recently because he was scheduled to be at the World of Wheels Auto Show the same day that he was apparently scheduled to be at a convention in New York City that, to be honest, I don't really blame him because he was apparently scheduled to be sitting right there with his daughter Charlotte. So I'm like, I choosing to do something with family, I can understand, as bummed out as a lot of people around here were. But next up, another ECW original, Mikey Whipwreck.
Absolutely awesome. And, it was, I had some of my fondest moments in and out of the ring with Mikey. And I think that they really broke the mold when they when they allowed him to bring out that character. He was someone that everybody absolutely loved to watch and to work with. And I mean, I have nothing but the deepest respect for John Watson, Mikey Whipwreck.
But it's definitely one of my favorites from back then. Last but not least, doing his thing back with Impact Wrestling, the innovator of violence, Tommy Dreamer.
Tommy, again, driven, disciplined, always lived a clean life, and he knew what he wanted, and he was going to achieve it, and he did.
Oh yes, no, definitely, and he's doing amazing things with Impact Wrestling right now, both behind the scenes, and he's got that storyline going with him and Bully Ray there that definitely hearkening back to the Extreme days from what I'm catching up with. So definitely good things with him. Next up, I call this a bit of a random question category. I never really know which questions I'm going to put in until I'm making up my notes and writing them down. And, I give you the question, you give me the first answer that pops into your head. First one, craziest in-match moment for you.
Well, I would have to say during a pay-per-view where Credible and Jack Victory wrestled Tommy Dreamer and Jake Roberts. And unfortunately, Jack Victory got injured quite severely too during the opening moments of the match, and he took a devastating backdrop over the top rope onto the concrete floor, and his leg was shattered, and he simply looked at me and said, "No, you're going to have to get up there and finish the match." And so, to me, it was something, because it was live and on pay-per-view, and I was just supposed to be outside, doing the whole manager thing. And then I hopped up and finished the match. So it being live and something like that happening, and that, we were able to kind of go with it.
Yeah.
Without hesitating or without any, it simply flowed.
Yeah.
It wasn't anything that, we were exposing as, oh my God, what are we going to do now? Well, what are you going to, hop up on the apron and, take over for Victory and, finish the match, and just, well, I knew obviously what the finish was going to be, and, how the other guys were going to run in and all that. But, something like that is always, when it happens live and there's no changing it, and it goes completely the opposite way of the way it was supposed to.
Yeah.
Something. But, obviously there are other times that certain things were maybe unorthodox and whatever. But, this, to me, this was, this has to be up there.
Oh, yeah. No, that would definitely be a crazy one, because there's all sorts of things that could happen. But, when you're live, it's like, okay, you're kind of having to think on the fly. And, like you said, you had to get up there and continue on, finish up the match. Now, ECW especially, there's all sorts of stories, crazy stories in the ring, but there's also some crazy stories backstage that have come about throughout the years. What would you say is one of the crazier backstage moments that you experienced that you wouldn't mind talking about?
Well, I think that it was my very first night in 1993 in ECW, because I didn't know what was going on as far as booking wise, and who was swerving whom. So when Doug Gilbert came backstage, and he was obviously pissed off because they just shafted his brother Eddie, and Eddie just walked out and was almost like, wait, is this a work? Is this, I don't see any camera, anything, and when Doug picked up that baseball bat and started smashing everything in sight, I was like, oh my gosh, this is like, this is the real deal. And it hit home, because here's something that was completely unexpected by both these guys that gave everything they could for Eastern Championship Wrestling, and now they're pretty much pushed out the door, and, to me, it was like, oh, just like, well, here is one way of watching somebody and then the reaction and all that. So, that was pretty, as far as the locker room, I didn't really, we all got along, and, there were just a lot of funny moments, but I could say that most of them were very pleasant. There were a few disagreements and fights and all that, but, nothing too terrible, you know. I mean, you don't lead to anyone getting killed, so it's all good.
No, I can get you there. Now, I would feel kind of weird if I didn't have a question that went to this with the name of a show like Drinking at Moe's. What would you say is a favorite drink of yours, whether alcoholic, non, or one of each? Because I always tell everybody, just because it says Drinking at Moe's doesn't mean that drink has to be alcoholic.
I like vodka because you can pretty much mix it with anything.
That is true. There's not very many things that you can't mix that with. That is for sure. What would you say a non-alcoholic one?
Water.
Water? Okay. I need to get better at drinking more water myself. I'm getting better at work, but at home I need to get a little better at drinking more water.
Yeah.
Next up, I mentioned a little bit before recording having a dog. Well, I got two. I got a Great Dane and an English Bulldog. What would you say you're more of a dog or a cat person?
I like both. I like having both a dog and a cat, or dogs and cats, you know. And I like canines, felines, you know, they're both. But, you know, I definitely like having both.
Oh, yeah. No, I can't blame you there. I know when I met my wife, she actually already had cats, but.
Yeah. For me, dogs are definitely for for that feeling of security and protection, and of course, you know, they're best buddies too. But you know, I like dogs that can take care of business.
Oh yeah, no, I'm definitely, I've leaned more towards dog person, but I got nothing against either. My wife and I actually have a couple of each, so you know, one cat that we have seems to have really taken a liking to me, although I don't know why, because it wasn't even my idea to get him. But somehow he likes to use my beard as a pillow, and I'm like, oh, all right, whatever.
Keeps him warm.
Definitely. Last but not least, best advice for anybody wanting to get into wrestling.
Well, these days, I don't know, you know, it seems to be very oversaturated these days, but you know, it's like you're not gonna talk anyone out of it. So basically, you know, you've got to go in it with an open mind, you know, that it could go either way. But I think, you know, you also have to be realistic as far as being athletic enough and marketable, whether or not you want to go through the inevitable, that, you know, there are going to be injuries and a lot of pain, and you know, there's always a possibility of fatality, you know, unfortunately. But you know, that's with anything. But if you know, I think being realistic would be the number one advice for me, unless you're one of those individuals that realizes that, look, you know, I'm going to go in it for fun, and whatever happens, happens. And if I, you know, work some shows, hey, at least, you know, I can say been there, done that. And but then again, take it seriously enough that you realize that you're really not a professional wrestler unless you're either making a living out of it, or unless you are making a decent supplemental income out of it. Because you've got to be very careful. You're going to go out there somewhere, call yourself a professional wrestler, and end up like that guy that Bob Roop stretched in Florida when he wanted to work for Eddie Graham. So there's always a possibility that you might piss someone off. So just, be like you run that mouth and, in other words, it's like, know your role and, when need be, shut your hole.
Hey, very, very good advice. I know it's always one of those things that, need to be realistic, because you got to realize that not everybody is going to be getting to WrestleMania within their first year in the business. Or ever. Yeah, there's some people that don't ever get there. So
that's obvious. I mean, it's especially right now, as I see it, it's a big world out there as far as industry, and there's so much out there, and I mean, there's a lot of absolute want to vomit now garbage out there.
Yeah.
But then again, I see that a lot of people are investing in companies like, let's say, TNA, AEW, and many of them, that I've never even seen, but I hear that they're out there. People are working. They're owned by serious individuals like, let's say, Billy Corgan. Who I'm sure is a businessman. He's not just a wrestling mark. He's a businessman. And that tells you that there are companies out there that are trying to give the fans their money's worth and keep them captivated.
Yeah.
And
definitely.
So for me, anyone thinking that they might get to that level, to work for companies like that, again, you got to be realistic. Do you have it? Yes or no? And unfortunately, a lot of people, they're very disillusioned, or they lie to themselves.
Yeah.
So, that's also the downfall of the bit. I mean, I've unfortunately gone through something recently that was absolutely shameful, and should have never happened, as far as a wrestling promotion and an individual, and some of the things that are for the business. And all I can tell you is that when you continue thinking that way and acting that way and pissing the wrong people off, accidents do happen.
No, that is true. Well, that is about all I have. Want to, before we go, one, thank you for taking the time to talk to me tonight. And two, social media wise, where can people find you? So that way, if they don't already have their eyes on you and have their eyes on the return of your promotion, where can they go ahead and get them there?
Help me out here.
They can find you on Twitter.
Yes.
Under Jason Knight. They can also find you under your Instagram, which is, I believe, ECW Original Jason Knight, and that will link them to your Assault Championship Wrestling website, and it will also link them to your official Facebook profile, because it has been duplicated in the past. So there you go.
Thank you for helping, because you're actually the one that created all those.
Well, definitely we'll get all that in the description of both the YouTube and podcast platforms. Like I said, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me tonight, and best of luck with the return of Assault Wrestling.
Yes, thank you.